Representing the city, we're here to talk about the legacy wall, and it's a great thing. And one of the reasons it's there is because we needed to not just have the legacy walk be on Halsted Street, but we needed to be able to take it out to the community, out to the state, out to the world. And one of the ideas for that was, how can we bring this to Springfield? And to talk about that and how much she's done for us, please welcome the Deputy Director for Intergovernmental Affairs, the Illinois Secretary of State, Ellen Meyer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I want to thank the Legacy Walk for inviting me today, and also the board and every one of you here. I am here today as one person, but I am representing 3 state entities. That's right. So I'm very delighted to let you know that in Illinois there are some things that work. So So on behalf of the Illinois Department of Tourism and the Illinois Department of Human Rights, I can't believe it, and the Illinois Secretary of State, we are delighted to be able to work together to have this be in Springfield, Illinois. Now, those of you may know that Secretary White is the state librarian. And in Springfield, we have the State Library. And the State Library is really, it's not where you go check out People magazine. Okay? The State Library is really a repository of all kinds of things that are used for research. Maps, genealogy, history, but we also have a collection of Illinois authors. And at the Illinois State Library, it is the only state library in the United States with a very specific cohort specific to the LGBT community. So Illinois LGBT authors are also housed at the Illinois State Library. So, since this comes under the rubric of the Illinois Secretary of State's office, and as the Secretary of State is the chief librarian in the state of Illinois, I thought, oh, wonder of wonders, we could get this down to Springfield. And what was important to me was not to have it be focused on our community. What was important to me was that we would be able to reach beyond what we normally do. So, by working with the Illinois Department of Tourism, that means it goes out on their website, on their email blasts, on everything, their Facebook page, that this is going to be in Springfield. It also means that the Illinois Department of Human Rights has this out on their web page, their email blast, to everybody who follows them. This also means that for the Illinois State Library, this goes out to every library in the state of Illinois and beyond. Our library staff is ecstatic about this. For one thing, I have to say it is rare that something makes its world debut in Springfield, Illinois. So, our staff, we have an information line. So from 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, any questions about this exhibit are going to be answered by our staff. Our staff is doing research on everyone who is going to be on the Legacy Wall when it comes to Chicago, so that they will have bibliographies and more information. Our staff is also going to be available to assist people with downloading the app if they wish to use their cell phone to find out more information about what is on there. Our staff is also going to make sure that all printed materials are kept up to date and in stock. So not only is it going to be the Legacy Wall, it is also going to be the Legacy Walk, so that people who wish to do something else can also come to Chicago to do the Legacy Walk. So my hope for this is really, I'm very, very excited about this, because it is wonderful to be in the library that really is every citizen of Illinois' library. It is going to drive people to this library who are atypical in terms of our audience outreach, just as it is going to drive people to what exactly is this project that is atypical of what our outreach is. So I am just delighted to be here representing these 3 agencies and the Secretary of State, and thank you all very much for supporting this.
No paper, because this is I don't need paper for this. So this is my favorite part of every Legacy event. I get to introduce the founder and the executive director of the Legacy Project. And I get to see if I can't bring him to tears. So, here we go. 30 years ago, I moved to Chicago. I'm from North Carolina. I came up to Illinois to go to graduate school down in Champaign. And I wanted to live downtown Chicago. And I could not do that without a roommate. I knew no one. A friend that I had known in graduate school said, you know, I have a friend that's looking for a place. He needs a roommate too. So he said, where can I meet him? He said, we're meeting tonight at Carol's Speakeasy. Of course we were. So, which has been closed for like 20 years, so that shows you where we are. So I sat in the back room of Carol's Speakeasy where they used to have a slideshow of porno shots. And that's where I met Victor Salva. I had a hard time getting him to focus on me because of the slideshow. But believe it or not, Victor, that was 30 years ago this month. We became roommates, 30 years ago. Why he would want a room with a 6-year-old, I don't know. But he did. 30 years later, he is one of my best friends. I'm not only happy I still know him, I'm honored I still know him. I don't know how many people in your life that you can say, I honestly know someone that has changed the world. And I know someone, personally, one of my best friends that has changed the world. The founder, the executive director of all of this, the Legacy Project, Victor Salva.
I'm going to put the mic on the stand because I'm Italian, and I need both hands to talk.
I manage, Victor.
You're not as Italian as I am, apparently. Oh boy. Thank you, Ralph, and thank you all of you who spoke. This has been a long journey to get here. This particular iteration of Legacy has been about a year in the planning. It's interesting, thank you, Ellen, for your remarks. This idea of doing a remote kind of an installation like this really sort of began when Gabriel Gomez, where are you, Gabriel? Director of the Legacy Project Education Initiative. He and I went down to Springfield in October of 2013 because of Tracy Baim from our staunch Windy City Times, is probably our greatest advocate in the media. I should correct that by saying absolutely our greatest advocate. Organized the March on Springfield because of marriage equality, and we have been invited by the governor's office to bring some Legacy Project content to Springfield. So Gabriel and I packed up 20 easels and some plaque mock-ups, went down there and set up this display in the Capitol, and we had the good fortune of the fact that it rained most of that day, so people had no place else to go but inside to look at our installation. And we both remarked watching these folks reading every single word and thinking about how on Halsted Street, where the $500,000 installation is, people are so busy texting as they're walking down the street that they're not really necessarily aware that the plaques are there until I have 20 high school kids in tow behind me and I'm doing a talk in front of one, then it's as though the fog has cleared and the plaques have materialized. And like this project means a lot on Halsted, but it means an awful lot in the places where it hasn't been yet. And it started us thinking about what it would mean to actually take this on the road. And the following year, in the spring of 2014, we had the great fortune of being invited by Equality House, which is the rainbow-colored house across the street from the Westboro Baptist Church. Feel free to hiss at this point. Equality House opened up across the street from Westboro to become an advocacy center for LGBT youth in the state of Kansas. And we were invited by Aaron Jackson and Davis Hammett to come and do an installation inside Equality House, where now 18 of our plaque mock-ups are inside that turn the inside of Equality House into a museum of LGBT contributions to history. 1,000 people a week go to Equality House. When we did our dedication at Equality House, 500 people came from 5 states away to actually see this content. One woman I talked to was in tears because she thought she would never live long enough to see something like this. And we have such a weird perception here in Chicago and in Illinois. We have this bubble of acceptance, and there's no telling what the power is of something like this being in the communities that it needs to go to. So the idea of creating a traveling version of what we do got stuck in my mind, just like creating a permanent physical version got stuck in my mind 28 years ago when the Legacy Project was first conceived. And that result now is standing with you in this room is the Legacy Wall. And it's been not easy to do, as nothing I do is easy. Anybody who knows me knows that I can find the most complicated way to do almost anything. And this is living proof behind you. I think the cool thing about this is that it's going to finally take our message out to communities where this conversation needs to begin. And it's more than about marriage equality, and it's more than about Caitlyn Jenner. It's more than about the stuff that's really easy to talk about. It's about the fact that our stories go into the very heart of what it is to be a human being and where our stories reside. And we're thrilled to be working with all these state agencies to start in Springfield, and eventually the wall will go on tour. It'll tour Illinois for about 15 months or so, also hitting some nearby cities of surrounding states like Indianapolis and Milwaukee. And the goal then in 2017 is to take it national. And for this installation, which you are now seeing for the first time, to actually be never not being seen someplace by somebody who needs to see it. And I think that's really awesome. So one quick little piece that I want to point out to you, you may have noticed some QR codes on some of the things that are up there. This is a piece of it that is, we've never done any press on it, and Tracy, I promise I will get you the press release on it. But we have brought in NFC technology, which stands for Near Field Communication. It's the latest thing. We don't do much of it in the United States. It's very big in Europe and Asia. And what it is, though, for us on the Legacy Walk, we have digitally linked all the plaques to each other so that there's now a transponder on each plaque where you can either scan the code or tap your phone against it if it is so equipped, your smartphone. It opens up a digital portal to content about the individuals that are on the Legacy Walk, and that includes video, downloading the lesson plan, the resources that went into creating that thing, and the all-important donate button. And it gives us the ability to access some information about the people who are actually tagging it. And the cool thing about it is that that same system that we're using on the Legacy Walk is now going to be integrated with the Legacy Wall. So what is on the wall right now is just the initial content that we already have uploaded, and between now and when it goes to Springfield, we'll be adding the rest of the content to the system. And I'd like at this time to acknowledge Carrie Maxwell. Here, stand up, Carrie, because you deserve some applause. Carrie is one of our senior researchers, and she is doing pretty much all the content uploading, and has been an incredible resource for us to make sure that that 58-page bibliography went to the state of Illinois so that they can begin to create the details that were going to be necessary for this thing to be in Springfield. So this is definitely a community effort. As Ralph said, we've never gotten a grant. We've raised $500,000, basically $50 at a time, because of people like you. And I can't begin to stress how proud that I am that our community has stepped up to embrace the concept of supporting LGBT history. And we need to do more of that. The legacy can be so much more than it already is. And all that's standing in between us and where we can go is funding. And I would like to, at this time, to bring up our, not only our Director of Development, but also the chair of this particular event, Christopher Barrett-Politan. He's also your bartender tonight, so.
I'm also a bartender. There's that. Your windows? Not this high, but you know. Do I need this? If I scream, can everyone hear me? Yeah. Great. So, I can tell you as a swim coach, I am very used to screaming quite loudly, so I hope that everyone will be able to hear me. First of all, thank you so much for coming out today. It's a lovely Sunday, and it's a beautiful, beautiful venue, so we want to thank our dear friend Gina and Jay for having us here at the Bridgeport Art Center in this incredible, incredible facility. So, I have 3 vignettes, perhaps, that I'm going to share. The first, I also am the executive director of the North Halsted Business Alliance, and we were so delighted and honored and thrilled to have the opportunity to support the Legacy Wall and to support its creation. And it is with great pride that the businesses that are on North Halsted get to interact with this incredible, incredible exhibit and museum on the street every day. And I can say very happily, you know, I get to walk down the street on a regular basis and learn more about our collective history than most, and that's to Victor's and the board's incredible, incredible diligence and fastidious pride in the work itself. So, kudos. That's a moment for us. Second vignette, because I'm warming you up. Second vignette, last night, Jim Derrico and I, Jim, where are you? Had the opportunity to see a dear friend of ours, one-man show at the Center on Halsted. And it was an incredibly powerful retelling of what I can imagine for many people in this room, I think, looking around, is an all too often very painful piece of our own history, and that's our sort of coming out process and our coming to grips with who we are as sort of authentic creatures. And last night I was reminded about how important individual history can be, and how important the history that we share is to our futures. And what Victor has done so beautifully, and what this Legacy Wall will do so emphatically, in fact, is to make history real for young people, right? And so they can look to Alan Turing, and they can look to Josephine Baker, and they can look to, you know, I'm very, very, you know, honored, as a tangent, this year my partner and I are leading the effort to produce a plaque for Rudolf Nureyev. And so, as you know, Nureyev, woo! So with that, it's so incredible that the Legacy Wall will travel and have an impact that goes far beyond what we've created on North Halsted, and really brings our collective history as a community to life. And hopefully, through that interactivity, young people like our dear friend, like Jim and my friend Javier, won't have to sit in their room, you know, listening to Madonna, hoping for the moment in 1994 when the Blonde Ambition Tour came out. They will have the strength and courage and conviction to live wonderfully authentic human lives. And so it's a very, very powerful tool for that. And I thank you all for being here to celebrate. The final thing, before we go back to rosé and white wine, is last year I was very, very honored to host the first of these Leadership Circle events on the roof of my then building. And it was a day much like this, beautiful. This event and this group of folks that comprises our Leadership Circle, first of all, I say thank you to each of you who have joined us at this level, and I say please join us. You know, we love having this lovely, intimate group of people that we can share unique experiences with. You know, to have all of you come and see the Legacy Wall before it goes out in the world is a great, great thing. It's even more important that you provide feedback to us. And then there are other things. You know, what we did last year was introduce many of those first leadership circles to two brilliant, brilliant LGBT historians. And for those of you who were there, they really regaled us with an incredible, incredible amount of our history. And so what I can say, and this is my plea, when you leave here today, drink more wine, but consider, if you've not already, joining the Leadership Circle. Consider, you know, hosting an event to benefit the Legacy Project. Consider, you know, asking your employer if they have a beautiful atrium downtown, you know, somewhere in the Loop, maybe, at which one could host this beautiful exhibition. There are countless, innumerable ways in which we would love and welcome and honor your tremendous support. With that, thank you very much.